Hi, everybody. I hope our students enjoyed a little extra time this week with a snow day. And we're excited to kick off College Information Week with a discussion on building a college list. My name's John Young. I'm the director of counseling here. For those of you I haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm sure I will over a little bit of time as you go navigate the college admissions process. And I'm excited to be working with my colleague, Mr. Griffa, to work with all of our students as we go through this process. And I think for a lot of families, building the list is the first step. So I'm glad we can talk to you about that now. I do want to really reinforce that in the college search process in general, people talk about a lot of different things that pertain to the college search, finance, academics, reputation. The essay, the application itself, interviews, the campus visit, I think they're all critically important. But my feeling is if you get your list right, if you build this list well, then the rest tends to take care of itself. So while it's very much at the beginning of the process, I think it is worth spending some time in trying to get it right. I'm going to share my screen because I've got a PowerPoint that I think will help everybody navigate through this and see what they need to know. So here we're going to talk about building a college list, and let me go over the brief agenda. I'm going to do a quick introduction, talk about academic fit, talk about personal fit, outcomes, admissions fit, financial fit, some tools that you can use, and some last thoughts for as a conclusion. But remember what we're doing here. We are talking about building a list of colleges to consider. That's it. Eventually, that will turn into a list to apply to. But for right now, this is simply developing a list that you want to research some further, consider visiting. It's just worthy of continued consideration for you. And obviously, I think the longer that list, at this point in the process, that's okay because it just means you're considering these places and you need to do some homework on their websites and learn more. I also want to reinforce that a school can really be put on your list at this point for one of two reasons, and I consider them to be some good reasons. Here are some good reasons to put a college on your list. It's got the academic program that you're interested in. You know that you like small class sizes, so this school fits in that range. You're interested in studying in a certain part of the country, and the school's located there. Those are all good reasons to put a school on your list. But I think there are also maybe what I would consider some real reasons that students put a college on their list. Its reputation. A really good friend of yours goes there. You happen to walk around campus and it was a bright sunny day and you could totally see yourself hanging out on the quad. Maybe those are less factual. Maybe those are less numbers you can put on a spreadsheet. But there's some real reasons why some students are attracted and drawn to certain schools. For parents who are watching, I think that's one of the roles you can play here for your students is to really help them understand it's bringing together the good reasons and the real reasons that will make a really strong list. But as you can see here, I think there are five real things to be thinking about as you put your list together: academic fit, personal fit, outcomes, the admissions fit, and the financial fit. And let me walk through each one of those if you don't mind. Academic fit could really be your intended major, right? You're looking at colleges because you know you want to be an engineer. They better have an engineering program that you're interested in. Please separate, at this point anyway, the concept of your major with your career. Those two things don't have to be lined up perfectly at this point. Many of our students don't know that yet. It's just not something they've figured out yet. And that's absolutely fine. Um, but if you know it, and there's some an academic area that you're passionate about and you know you want to have as part of your college experience, by all means, this should be something you consider. Class size and teaching style. I believe that students can sometimes jump a little headlong into this and don't do some reflection to think about are there certain classes that class sizes that are going to suit them better than others? Are you more of a hands-on learner where you need labs and places to gain real hands-on experience with things, or do you enjoy lectures and discussion tables? That can be a big part of how you build a list. Is there a core curriculum or is it an open curriculum? And this is a hard one to figure out initially when you're doing your search. But when you visit schools and when you dig into their websites a little bit more and learn about the curriculum, I think it is well worth considering what type of person you are. Some students really value having a core curriculum. Here are certain classes that I need to take in order to get my degree, whether they're in certain divisions or departments, or whether it's a prescribed first year curriculum. Here are the courses that all of our first year students are going to take. Some students really appreciate that. Other students, I want complete freedom of choice. I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I'm tired of taking some of the classes that I've had to take in high school. I don't want to ever see that subject again. Let me consider some colleges with more of an open curriculum. Also, what are the academic experiences that are available to you outside of the classroom? Maybe you're really high on getting an internship or doing a co-op. Is that something that's offered at the college you're considering? Do you want to study abroad? I think that is becoming an interesting thing that I'm hearing more and more of our students express interest in, especially coming out of the pandemic now, where the abroad programs are going great guns. I do think it's important for students and families to know that nationally, very few college students actually study abroad. The last data I have is a couple years old, but it was less than 6% of college students actually study abroad. But at many colleges, well over half of the student body studies abroad at that particular school. So if that's something that's of interest to you, certainly consider adding that school to your list. Also, a lot of our students want to do research in college and get engaged with a faculty member and really go more in depth into the academic areas that they're considering. And research is a terrific way to do that. Find out if that's available to undergraduate students there. But I think it's worth you asking some questions of yourself to help get to know these four subject areas a little bit better. I ask all of our students to think about what their favorite class at McQuaid was and why. Usually, when they describe it, it's not the subject itself. My favorite class was American history. It's usually not because it was American history. It's because of the way the teacher taught it. It was because of the way the tests were given, the papers were assigned, what my day-to-day class experience was like. I think it's worth reflecting on that because that I think will give you some clues about what type of college learning environment you're looking for. Who are your favorite teachers? And why? And usually it's not just because they were nice people. It's because they had an enthusiasm or a way of delivering material that you found really engaging for you. And if I were to ask five students who their favorite McQuaid teacher is, I will likely get five different answers. It's one of the things I love about working here. But I think students are wise to reflect on that and then think about what type of college environment will have more teachers like that. Think about your learning style and what you need to be successful academically. Some students, I've got this down. I'm really good at managing my time. I can handle large volumes of work, short-term, long-term projects. Other people are more challenged by certain parts of their academic life, right? Some students, managing daily homework is really hard for them. Well, there's less of that in college. Maybe that's something for some of our students to look forward to. But there are more long-term projects, which could be more of a challenge for certain students. So think about your learning style as you think about academic fit for places. Now, note, I haven't talked anything about grades and SAT scores and GPA. That comes later for under an admissions fit. But academically, this is purely about your ability to find a school that's a good match for your academic interests, for your learning style, for what you're hoping to accomplish while you're a student in college. All right. Next, I want to talk about personal fit, and this is more about you as a human being and what you need. What are your non-negotiables, right? For some students, that's location, and location can mean a couple different things. It can mean distance from home. I don't want to be more than a car ride from home. Other students, they want to get as far away from home as possible. Parents, I don't know if you want to know this, but statistically, over half of high school seniors say they want to go to college more than 350 miles away from home. Nationally, less than 20% of them actually do. So more of them are staying a little bit closer to home. So when you think about location, think about distance from home, but also think about the type of location, right? Is that suburban? urban, rural? Are there certain things, like, look, I just can't survive without a Chipotle nearby. Well, then there's certain colleges that just aren't going to fit the bill and take them off the list. If you're not a city person, it doesn't matter how great Harvard is, you're in a city, and that may not be a good fit for you. And there's plenty of great schools out there that can deliver the type of education that Harvard can, not in an urban environment. And think about climate. Some people really like the seasons. Other people, let me just stay warm, right? Especially this time of year, you never know. I always have to challenge students to build lists, and late January, early February is not necessarily the best time for our students to build them, but we'll work on that. Think about the population of the colleges you're considering. It's very easy to say big school, medium-sized school, small school. For some students, size isn't that big a concern for them. Others, that's really important to them, and to be on a college campus where I'm going to I'm going to see a ton of different people all the time. Others, I want to be able to walk in the dining hall and see familiar faces. I think a thing for our students to remember, we hear a lot of students at the beginning of this process saying, "I want a big school. I want a big school." I think it is important to remember that just about every college you would consider and put on a McQuaid students list is going to be bigger than McQuaid. So it's naturally going to be a little bit larger. But I know for some students, they want 40,000 students there, and that's really important to them. And for others, 3,000 is just fine. There's no one answer to that. It's certainly much more individual. Also, think about the actual population of each college. Where do those students come from, right? I think a lot of our students are looking at some of the big state flagship institutions, University of North Carolina, University of South Carolina, University of Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana. Great institutions, but remember, the majority of students at those institutions come from that home state. That as an out-of-state student, you'd be in the minority at those places. Where if you went to more of a private institution, the majority of those students are from all over in different locations. But that's something geographically you want to think about. But also think about the type of student that goes there. Does it attract a certain personality type? Are there things that are important to you as you look for colleges and who you want to be going to school with? Consider campus life. And I think this is for most of our students who are going away to school, they're going to be living there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Is this a residential campus? Is this a commuter campus? Do people stick around on the weekends? What's dorm life like? Because you'll be spending a huge chunk of your time there. There's a lot of schools that take a lot of pride in saying that you learn as much outside of the classroom as you do inside of the classroom, given all that we offer at our institution. Think about yourself in clubs. Are there certain things that you do at McQuaid that are really important to you? Certain sports you play, certain activities you're involved in? Make sure the colleges that you're looking at have them. Don't assume it. Really do the homework to find that out, especially when it's something. What's a good example? I had a student that I worked with last year where rugby was just very important to him, and it really helped us narrow down a list pretty quickly because there aren't as many colleges with rugby as you might think, and that met other criteria as he was looking for. So if there is one of those activities that's really important to you, that can help narrow this down. Greek life. Is that something you're interested in? Is it something you want to pursue? Is it something you don't want anywhere near you? It depends, I think, on a lot of colleges, at least having worked at three different colleges, albeit in the Northeast, where Greek life isn't as big a deal. There was one school I worked for where the majority of students were involved in Greek life. There was one school I worked for that had no Greek life. There was one school I worked for that had about 20% of the student body involved in Greek life. I don't think there's one right answer there, but there's probably one for you based on your personality and what you're looking for. School spirit is another thing that I hear a lot of our students talk about, that they want to go to a campus where people go to sporting events. But I also think about school spirit in different ways. Do people go to the theater performances? Are they supporting a cappella groups or orchestras? What type of support do classmates offer each other? And that's something you can find out more. Not listed here, but I do think for some of our students, it's worth thinking about. Are there any type of support systems or things that you need to make a college a good fit for you. I'll give you an example. We had a student that I'm working with this year who has a pretty severe food allergy, and making sure when they consider lists that their dining halls accommodate that. Is there any type of counseling services, academic support that you might need? Think about those things too as you look at colleges and understand them a little bit more. All right. I think increasingly important in the college process is outcomes. What is this all going to lead to when I graduate, hopefully on time, and move on? Find out where these colleges, where the graduates go. And there's two data points that I think are really helpful. What's the graduation rate? What percentage of students who enter in the fall of their first year graduate? And let me give you a little bit of an insider tip here. The data that colleges need to report on this is actually how many students who enter in their first year graduate within 6 years. I don't think that's really what you're interested in. You want to know how many graduate in 4 years. So make sure you're being very specific when you get that information. And most colleges will list this on their website, and there's some guidebooks that do too. But make sure you're seeing the 4 year graduation rate, not the 6 year graduation rate, because that will have something to do with telling you, if the 4 year graduation rate is low, but the 6 year graduation rate is a bunch higher, does that mean the kids can't get the courses that they need? What's that telling you about the institution? The retention rate is what tracks the percentage of the first year class that returns for their sophomore year. And to me, that's telling you a lot about student happiness and satisfaction with the place. So those are two numbers that I think are worth digging in. What type of career advising does this college or university have? What type of job placement rates do they have? What are internships do they have available? I think a lot of colleges and universities over the last 15 years have invested a ton in their career placement, graduation placement centers, and really coming up with more comprehensive programs, especially for students who may not know what it is that they want to do when they're entering college. How do you help them along the way to figure that out so that when they graduate, they at least know a good next step for them? Other students know exactly what they want to do after they graduate from college, and then you can ask some very pointed questions about finding out how well this school might serve you. Um, what percentage of students go off to graduate school? I know this number can be really important to students who are thinking about law school, medical school, going and getting a master's in engineering. Um, Pay attention to it, understand it. Having worked with this on the college side a lot, that number fluctuates pretty widely at many schools. And it has less to do with the success of the college in placing their students in graduate school and more to do with the economy in general. When graduate school percentages go up, it actually typically means that the job market is tougher, and more people are stalling going into the job market to go off to graduate school. But if you really know you want to go to medical school, I would ask each college, what's your medical school placement rate? What's your law school placement rate? As opposed to the general number. I think that can be much more helpful to you. And then the alumni network. How do they use that as an institution? How well is that tapped in? Don't assume because it's a great school and it's everybody knows it and they have a lot of school spirit that the alumni network is strong. I don't think that necessarily is the case. And there are some really small schools where the alumni network is super strong and they're going to help you do some amazing things. So check all those things out as you build this list. Now we're going to talk about admissions fit, and I think there's a reason why I put this forth. I think you really have to think about whether this is a school you want to attend, whether it's something you're interested in, before you start to get hung up on the can you attend it. I'm never really comfortable with these terms that we use in college admissions when you're building a list for is it a safety school, is it a reach? I've never really liked those terms, and the reason why is there's just a lot associated with them, and yet I understand that a thoughtful list has to be balanced, and it's got to be one that that really looks at a range of colleges, some of which some colleges are just going to be thrilled to have you as a student because you're going to be present a profile that's going to be one of their strongest. And there might be some other schools on your list where odds may not be in your favor, but boy, if it worked out, I might love to go there. Um, I've developed a little bit of a system that I use that I think is helpful to try to make sure a list is balanced. It's a quadrant system. Let me show you this screen. Here's an unnamed McQuaid student with 1350 on their SAT and a 97 GPA. And what I did was just created four quadrants, right? The green quadrant in the top means your SAT and your GPA is above their average. The one right below that, the yellow, is that your SAT is a little below their is a little below their average, but the GPA is above, and vice versa all the way through. And I think you want a balance here, right? If you can create a balance, I think it's important. You don't want all of them in one box, right? And I think if there's something that our students have done lately is they've skewed a lot towards that red box where your SAT is below the average and your GPA is below the average. Those would be what people would call a reach school. And it means the odds aren't in your favor. And if you spend too much time searching schools in that world, then you're going to get potentially a lot of bad news. So once you start to put this list together, then you can work with Mr. Griff or myself and put you in the appropriate box. Not only do we look at that in terms of overall data and what schools report of average GPAs and average SATs, but we also look at our McQuaid student history and know over the last 5 years, here's the profile of a McQuaid student who's been a successful applicant to any of the schools that you're considering. I think something else you want to think about is the admissions fit. And what in the admissions fit category is what required courses are there. And I think what we're seeing over time is there are certain colleges in the country that like McQuaid students who have taken specific courses or tracks of courses during their time here. I have a list of about 35 colleges and universities that have not admitted a McQuaid student in the last 5 years unless they've had 4 years of a foreign language. We require three to graduate from McQuaid, but some of these schools are looking for students who have had a fourth year. And if that's something you really don't want to do, then there's probably a reason why that school isn't a good match for you. Some of our students who really have this propensity bent towards engineering, have you taken some of those courses that are available here to you to show that college that you're committed to it and it's something you're interested in? Are there certain math courses? Are there certain science courses that students need to take? So I think that's worth thinking about. But on the flip side, it's also worth looking at the required courses at that institution too. Is there something that they want every student to do at their school that is really appealing to you or not so appealing to you? And that can help you determine fit in a bunch of different ways. All right. The last fit category that I want to talk about is a financial fit, and I think families, it's worth you having a conversation to understand what's going to be expected, what students can count on you contributing for your son or daughter's education. Every financial aid officer in the country who gets up in front of prospective students and families will say this. The United States college system is predicated on families, parents, contributing to their son or daughter's education to the extent that they are financially able to do so. And the key word there is able to do so, not willing to do so. So there might be a very big difference in what a college determines your ability to pay is versus your willingness to pay. And that's one of the challenges here in this system. There's no doubt. So I do think it's when you're building your list, I wouldn't get hung up initially in sticker price because not many people actually pay the sticker price at a lot of the institutions that you may be considering. A better number, I think, is net price. This is every college produces this number. Here's the average net price that families pay to go here. And I think you might be surprised that some of the most expensive colleges in the country actually have a very low net price because they have a ton of financial aid that they're able to give out to their students. I do think it's important to consider the fact that most of our students really think about financial aid in a merit-based way. How many scholarships can I get because of this talent that I have, my GPA, my SAT scores, my leadership in a club and activity, my sports talent. But in fact, the vast majority, 90% of aid that's given out to colleges, to students who go to colleges and universities in the United States is need-based, not merit-based. Students will apply for aid using at least one form, the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. That will determine your eligibility and your family contribution, what you can afford to pay. Some colleges will also use a second form called the CSS profile that asks for a little more detailed financial information. But either way, colleges will have a number if you file either or both of those forms that say, okay, given the formula, and it's not perfect, but given the formula, here's what we think this family can contribute to their son's education in their first year. And we'll come up with a financial aid package based on that. Some will meet that, some will not. Some will come up with really creative ways of doing it, some will not. But the vast majority of aid is need based. How can you figure out what aid you might qualify for? Every college in the country on their college website by law has to have something called a net price calculator that will allow you to put in some financial information about your family, and it will spit out, hey, if your son were admitted, here's a rough estimate of what your financial aid package would look like from us. Some net price calculators are exceptional. They do a very good job, especially if you're applying to a school that meets 100% of demonstrated need. Usually, their net price calculators are pretty accurate because there's not a lot of playing around with it. But for schools who don't meet 100% of demonstrated need, and that's the vast majority of them, their net price calculator is more of an estimate than it is an exact offer. There is a really nice, handy, quick, and dirty website that you can use called myintuition.org. There are only certain colleges and universities that subscribe to it. They have to pay to use it. But it really shrinks down the number of questions that they ask financially. It's basically adjusted gross income and house information. What is your house worth? How much do you owe on it? And then what kind of assets do you have at your disposal very quickly? And it gives you a really nice estimate. So if you ever just want a quick estimate, I think it's worth going to myintuition.org, choosing one of the colleges there. It's all anonymous. Nothing ever gets reported anywhere on the net price calculator or on My Intuition, unless you give them your information. It can ask if you'd like to save that or submit it to people. But you can fill it out and you can adjust it, play around with it. I would encourage all of you. We do, I think, a terrific job here in bringing one of the experts to campus to talk about financial aid in the fall of your senior year. We'll bring a guest to talk through. We call it Financial Aid Night. It's in late September before forms are filed, and I think they do a terrific job to help you understand that. All right, let me talk to you a little bit about some tools you can use that might help you build this list. There are many tools to choose from. A lot of companies have sprung up really getting into this field. And I want to make sure you're aware of something. When you use any one of these tools, there isn't one I know, but that doesn't do this. But if you use a tool to help you produce a college list, understand that company has gone out to colleges and say, here, give us a little money, and I will put your name closer to the top of the list. So to me, it's important for you to have that information when you're doing a search on Niche or CapEx or Hobson's, any of the companies that create these lists. Know that when you put in that you're looking for a small liberal arts college in New York that has a great environmental studies program, the school that appears first may not be the school that is the best match for you, but it is the school that paid that company the most money to say, I want those students badly. Make sure I'm appearing near the top of the list. I think that's really important. They're not alphabetical, they're not geographic, they're not ranked. It is based on the money that those colleges pay to those organizations to appear early. I think that's my beware of how colleges are listed note, right? I have yet to find gosh, this product is just so much better than everyone else, and here's the one that really provides the most insight and best list to our students. So whenever that happens, I'm defaulting to the College Board. And the reason that I default to the College Board is their data tends to be the best. And technically, they're a nonprofit organization, right? So they're not out there trying to make money for shareholders or do something. So my instinct is they tend to be the best one to work with. So I want to show you what that looks like here. Um, so you can see Big Future is the name of the College Board's search product. And you can see up at the top here in the right, there's a place called Sign In. If you have a College Board account, you can actually sign in to this website with your College Board account, and it will save the searches that you do. So you don't have to recreate this. And then there's actually some things you can plug into that site that can help guide and direct. But let's just give you an example here. When you're trying to explore colleges, you have all these different categories to choose from. So let's just choose on majors. Let's say you're interested in being a psychology major. Let's scroll down, and you can type these in too, but I always like scrolling to see what's there. And then you can see, boy, here are all these different areas of psychology that are available to you. You may know exactly which one you want, but you might just be interested in psychology in general, and then it'll include all those areas. All right, so we're going to add that, and then automatically it's going to start filtering down. Let's say location, we want certain states. We don't want to go that far. Let's consider all the schools in New York and maybe Pennsylvania, and let's go with Ohio too. But understand, you could also choose just distance from home if you wanted. If you had a certain geographic area that you're interested in, you could put in the miles away from home. What type of institution? All right, we want a four-year degree. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter to us really whether it's public or private or if it fits any of these special categories. But if there was something that was important to you, this is where you could do it. And for some of our students who are interested in a Catholic or Jesuit institution, here's where you could put that information. It'll narrow your list down. And um, let's talk about campus life. Let's just say we're open to a couple different sized institutions, but let's just pretend we're that student who wanted rugby. This might help. We want men's rugby. And you could choose tons of different activities here if you wanted, if there were things that were important to you. There's a slew of things. If you need any academic accommodations, you could certainly choose some of those things too. All right. So here you can see we've already filtered down a list here, and you can see 106 colleges in these three states that fit this category. Wright State in Dayton, Ohio is the first one that appears. That does not mean it's the best match and the best fit for us. It just happens to be first. And that probably means there's a connection between Wright State and the College Board, where they started giving them some money and buying some of their products, and it all helped. But as you start to scroll through this list, you can see there's might be some schools you're familiar with, some that you're less familiar with, but you'll get to eventually scroll through all 106, and you can see there's no real order to this list, right? There's some in New York, some that are public, some that are private, some that are big, some that are smaller. There's not this one order to the list at all. But if you wanted to, you could click Save College and it would save it on your list. So that when you went back up in this right-hand corner, you see the saved colleges that you're interested in. The other thing that you can do is if you were to sign in here, you could put in your academic data and it would then tell you whether these schools were a reach, match, or safety for you. I think that's important. The admissions data, you can put this in right now if you wanted to narrow down lists based on admissions data if you felt like it. But I think it's a really fantastic tool that helps our students build a list initially. And then rest assured, Mr. Griffa and I, when we meet with students, we will talk through this multiple ways to help students build a list that's thoughtful. As always, if there are any questions about this, we're always happy to talk with families. But I hope you found this useful. I hope you found that you've got some tips about how to try to build your college list and get things moving along in your search. We're happy to help you any step along the way, and we wish you luck. Please enjoy this and the other presentations that are going on this week. I think they'll be really helpful, and we look forward to getting to know you all through the process. Thanks.